All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining the Gateway to Grace monthly call. It's wonderful to be here. My name's Elizabeth Tobin, and we'll get right into today's call. We'll see where we're going to go with this repatterning. And it's been interesting that the last couple of months, we've been working with these patterns of victims and perpetrators. And I remember last month, one of the patterns that we worked with, it was the violent cycles repatterning. And that was about how when somebody does a wrong, the impulse is to retaliate and up the retaliation a notch so that the violence escalates. So somebody does a wrong, and then the next person retaliates at a higher level, and then the retaliation, the other person responds at a higher level, and it just escalates. And what we worked with last month was, one of the patterns was I murder, right? And we talked about what that might look like, not just as a generational pattern, but also like where maybe you murder your dreams, maybe in your mind, your thoughts. And then we did the integrating the victims and perpetrators. We had done this repatterning around the victims receiving a dignified place and carrying their fate with dignity. And so it was all about like this victim and perpetrator energy that gets passed down through the family generations and also lives within us. And so a lot of times when we are in inner conflict, it may be because we have this warring energy within us. And you can think of like the victim energy is sort of it's the vulnerable energy, the open energy. The perpetrator energy is more of sort of the Mars energy, the action, the strength that we have to defend ourselves or to act in the world. And of course, what we're talking about here on the spectrum of coherence is on the shadow side of these victim and perpetrator energies. It turns into violence and war and inner conflict. On the sort of enlightened side, the coherent end of the spectrum, it's about being able to be open and vulnerable in the world, trusting, and also being able to set boundaries and take care of yourself. So that's sort of the positive end of the spectrum on the victims and perpetrators. So last month, we integrated that energy within ourselves. And we also, in January, we kind of had the same sort of theme that we were working with, the victim and perpetrator energy. And then, of course, what happened last month, leading up to this month, was the war broke out in Ukraine, right? I mean, sometimes I really feel like these repatternings, this work that we're doing, at the time when I was facilitating those sessions, it was like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know what this is pointing to, but I trust the process. And sometimes the sessions are kind of prescient or predictive, or they set us up in the moment for maybe what's to come in the future that we may not realize it in the moment. Like, why are we working on this pattern? What does this have to do with anything? And then as things unfold, we look back and in hindsight, we're like, oh, wow, look at where we are right now in the world. Look at what's going on. So I like to think that, the work that we did over the last couple of months with these repatternings has helped us to to come to further on the spectrum of the coherence and the gifts of this victim perpetrator energy, so that we can be a higher vibration of love and hold a higher frequency to be able to be a beacon of love and light in this time of turmoil and chaos and darkness, so that our meditations, and when we send our prayers to the situation in Ukraine or any other situation in the world, we are a purer, stronger influence for good in the world. And that's, that's what we're doing here on Earth, isn't it? So yeah, let's take just a little moment and just, sit with that a moment. And I'd just like to hear from you guys. What does this bring up for you? What are your thoughts on this? And you can raise your hands. Yes, Sharon.
Okay, I was very interested whenever you sent that email out that said I think it was you that sent this email, that the people in Ukraine are feeling our prayers and our consciousness. Whenever we had that last session, I have to say, I was appalled by the I murder statement. It really hit me in a really low place. But now I can understand and I can see where that was leading to. But at that time, that was a really hard concept for me to get to. So I'm especially happy to be here today because I now know that we are making a difference with the consciousness that we are placing in this conflict. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I was like, I murder. Oh my gosh, what is this? And I, as I said, I trust the process, and I just figure, okay, maybe it's a family pattern or, a generational pattern, something that we've inherited. And I think I even gave the example of, I had an uncle in World War II who had to shoot somebody and kill somebody. And he carried that for the rest of his life. Kind of disturbing. And at the moment when that came up, it was a puzzlement, like, and now here we are. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Somebody else, Henny, did you have your hand raised?
Yes. So I think it's very important, to be love and light, and to send love and light to all beings, and also to Ukraine, also to Russia. And I think it's very complicated. They say there are laboratoria with chemical weapons. That's the way why Putin likes to have the country back. So it's very complicated. So, but it is important to stay in our power and to be love and light, beacon of love and light. And I hope that a new earth is coming soon, that all beings are happy, all beings are free, all beings are healthy. So that's important.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for mentioning the Russians as well, because, what we see in this work, working with victims and perpetrators, is that, the perpetrators carry a big burden. Can you unmute yourself, Janine?
I was struck with, I've been focusing in my own work with the marriage, the sacred marriage of the masculine and the feminine, because the patriarchy has been in place governing the human race for 1,000 years, and now we're shifting over to being under the influence of our own feminine nature. And when you said I murder, of course, that is the extreme of taking action against, and that has been the exploitation that we've experienced in our cultures throughout all over the planet, in the murdering off of our feelings and our collaboration and our intention to community through isolation. And that it really was the feminine nature being oppressed to the point of submission, death, so often in our culture for the last, 500 years. So I've really been working on the two of them working together. And if we look at the archetype of Putin, who has no regard for his own people or the Ukrainian people or the community, and is ruled by the force of individuation and separation, which is the patriarchy. And we look at the humanity that has emerged to reunite us all with the refugees and the way they're being responded to by NATO nations, and the community, the human community, talking about the violence and the destruction and the murder, that there you can see the parallels. You can see the internal killing off your own impulse to come out of isolation, to be a part of the community, to be vulnerable, to work with others and collaborate, and wanting the me plan. We all have a plan, and this is just an amazing metaphor for what goes on inside us, as well as what went on the planet. And I was looking forward to the repatterning today to see how we could ease that and find our place in being the change, and where we might position our energies to do more of the work.
Right.
For me, that was my intention.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And when I said that the Russians need our prayers too, that, being a perpetrator is a burden, what I mean is it's a heavy karmic burden. And, and I think we all carry some of that, just having been, most of us, I believe, have been around this earth a long time. We play many roles in the different lifetimes that we have. So yeah. So thank you. Anne, did you have something you wanted to say? So you have your hand raised.
Yes, what I've been doing in my daily practice is trying to use one of my personal gifts, which is animal communication, to be a conduit for the love and light that Henny was talking about, and then to reach out to animals in Russia and the Ukraine, and to try and ask them to help embody that, to try and grid that into the land in both areas, so to speak, to try and create a more coherent pattern there. And that's one thing I can do, but there are probably some of you who write or dance or sing, are potters, whatever it is that you do. There's probably a way that you can find to take that energy and amplify it and help create more coherence using your own personal gifts.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And I think, you know, what you're doing with the animals is beautiful. And it reminds me that, you know, we have allies in the spirit world and here on earth too, in the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom. We know that, you know, trees and mushrooms communicate through a network of, of roots and like a neural network of the plants. And so, you know, all life on earth is cooperating together. And we can, with our intention, you know, ask for help for the human race to please help us. So thank you for that. I have a friend who posted on Facebook that she's been drawing with intention. And so that's what she's been using, like her drawings, like just really, you know, really beautiful pictures. Sometimes there might be like a word love with some pretty designs, and just sort of as like a drawing meditation prayer to uplift the situation in Russia and the Ukraine and in the whole world. So definitely we all have our own unique gifts that we can contribute and use to uplift humanity and the situation that we're in right now. So wonderful. Did I see somebody else who had their hand up? Just looking here. Laurie, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you know, when I was praying about Ukraine recently, and I was praying for all the people and everything going on there, and as someone said, it came into my head, and for the Russian soldiers, and I guess what I feel is different here than maybe other wars is it's really not between two warring peoples or factions. It's just these mostly young poor boys who didn't even know what their mission was, who thought they were liberators, and all of a sudden are in this really scary place of having to carry out all this violent activity. But it was one of the first times, you know, you always hear that, well, let's pray for both sides of things. And I usually don't really feel that way internally. I feel like, well, that's a nice concept, you know. But this time, I don't know. I think like even the word perpetrator for me doesn't feel comfortable, even though I know they're doing all this awful, you know, and I'm very angry and it's affecting me. I feel I've been praying and chanting and doing what I can, sending light, but I really feel that, you know, that there's the puppet master here who, you know, many of the Russian soldiers are even, some of them don't even want to fight. They have, you know, they have gone to the Ukrainians and say, I don't even want to go back and I don't want to do this. So I think it is a good thing about the masculine and feminine, which I also been studying a lot about the energy in the world, especially in Hindu religion of Shiva and Shakti. But I guess I just have to say that it reminds me of the story of Pharaoh letting the Israelites go, and all the plagues that were put upon him. And like each time something happened, it was almost like his heart got hardened more and more till finally losing his son, it's like he just said, enough, go. And somehow I see this analogy to what's it going to take? What's the next thing? And that somehow it's not just about Putin, it's about all our hearts kind of being opened, broken open to pain and to suffering. I don't know. This is what came out of me. I don't know if it relates to anything. But there is something about people's hearts. And like you said, your uncle has a terrible thing to carry around. Anyway, sorry, I went on.
No, thank you. You know, I think that it's just like so many natural disasters, you know, and then we get the plague with the pandemic,
Right.
you know, and then, you know, it's like we got war, we got pestilence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, what's it going to take?
Mm. Mm.
You know,
Right. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention.
yeah.
Natural disasters and, you know, the Arctic melting, and, you know, it does feel a little apocalyptic sometimes. And yet there are people like on this call and other people I know in my communities who have highest intention for the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to remember that there are a lot of people who have high intentions and who operate out of love. And
Yeah, right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember like leading up to 2012, there were so many global meditation events, synchronized, coordinated meditation events. And also, I remember like back in, I don't know, like the early aughts when there was the tsunami in Indonesia, there was the earthquake in Haiti, you know, all of these catastrophic natural disasters where the conscious community came together and did global meditations and prayer and ceremony. And it seems like it kind of died down after 2012. And now it seems like there's another resurgence of people doing these large scale global meditations. So it almost feels like, I don't know, like after 2012, maybe people were sort of like, okay, you know, not waiting, you know, what's going on. And then we sort of, you know, went on with our lives. And now we've been, you know, shaken up again out of our complacency to come together in consciousness. So anyways, so let's see where we're going to go today with all of this. So, you know, when I said, what's it going to take? You know, the answer is it takes each one of us to be that change that we want to see in the world and to do our own healing work. So, you know, that's what we're here for. So let's see what we're going to do today to uplift ourselves and humanity. So just take a little pause and just connect with your breath, center within yourself. And there were a number of people who emailed me that couldn't be with us live today, who asked to be included in the session. And of course, this is getting recorded and I'll put it up on YouTube. And so if you're watching the recording, you can also set your intention to be included in the session today. And you also might want to go back and look at the last couple of months, February, January, even like December 2021. You might want to go back and look at those repatternings as well, because it's been a progression. So I'm just going to check here to see what do we need, just tapping into the group field here. Just going to check. There's something that we need to look at from orientation. Problems into opportunities, an intention for a new possibility. There's a repatterning that we need. Yeah, so we're going to start with a repatterning and see what's needed here. And the repatterning that is needed is something from A, B, C, D, E, F. So we're working with relationships. So we've been on this theme of relationships. And again, continuing that theme. So let's see specifically what we need to look at here in terms of relationships. And we need to look at something from 1 through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to do the earth element repatterning, which is maintaining your peaceful center. Well, I think that's appropriate. Yeah. So let's see here, earth element, maintaining your peaceful center. So there's something that we need to hear from the introduction. Yes, something from here, 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 here. So when our earth element energy is harmonized or in balance, it allows us to nurture our relationships and to feed our relationships regularly rather than starve or neglect them. And when the earth is ignored, our relationships can become barren. And just like what happened in the 1930s in the Oklahoma Dust Bowl, where the earth became barren and people literally just moved away. So when that happens in our relationships, when our relationships become barren, we have a tendency to walk away rather than to correct the underlying difficulties in the relationship. There's something more we need to hear about transitions. No, okay. So let's see. Just gonna check. There's something that we need to look at in terms of what is destabilizing us at this time. Yes. And this is something I need to get from somebody in the group. No, I need to just tap into the group energy. Okay. So what is destabilizing us at this time? Okay. Let me just take a pause here and just check in and see. There's something more that's stated. This is the best way to word it. Yeah. So what came up is I am destabilized by all of the violence, change, and challenges in the world today. And so you can say that out loud and just notice what it feels like in your body as you say that. I am destabilized by all of the violence, change, and challenges in the world today. And we are resonating with that. There's something more that we need to look at from here. There's something from here we need to look at, yeah, so we also need to look at transitions. So the earth element is about transitions, and too many transitions destabilize us, too many changes. So there's something here from 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is relationship transitions. Interesting. So it could be marriage, separation, divorce, death. So you can think about like what relationship in your life is going through a transition. And it's, you think about like your interpersonal relationships. So it's the first part. It's the second part. Okay, this is another interesting one. I don't know if this might make sense to you. What came up is I lose my equilibrium at the thought of losing my relationship and being self-sufficient and having solitude. I lose my equilibrium, thought of losing my relationship and being self-sufficient and having solitude. And we're resonating with that. And so that may apply to you in the present, or it might relate back to an earlier phase in your life where you were facing the loss of relationship. For whatever reason, you know, it could be the loss of a loved one, a parent, a sibling, a partner, or you know, something that that put you into, you know, losing your equilibrium and fear. That's really what we're talking about here, I think, is you know, fear of being alone. Fear of having to, now I got to do it all by myself, you know. So this could even be like from childhood, or could be early adulthood, transitioning from teenage years into adulthood. I don't know. So you could, you know, sit with that a moment and see what comes up for you. And then what we need to look at here is something from here, from here, something from here. So there's a feeling that we also need to identify here. So there's a feeling that's weakening our earth element energy, this ability to maintain our stability in the face of change and challenges, and particularly in the face of relationship challenges and transitions. So the feeling is something from 1 through 5, 6 through 10. It's number 6. It's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's despondent, melancholy, and morbid. Wow. And it just occurred to me So in the Northern Hemisphere, we are coming up to the spring equinox later this month. And the spring equinox is all about rebirth, right? And last month we had that pattern of I murder, which is, that's basically about death. Feeling despondent, melancholy, and morbid, that's about death as well. So it might be that maybe these repatternings are setting us up for a rebirth at the end of the month. Wouldn't that be lovely? So let's check this. Say I feel despondent, melancholy, and morbid. And we're resonating with that. And just notice what it feels like in your body. Where do you notice any feelings of despondency, melancholy, morbid? It could even be, morbid thoughts. It's easy to fall into that when when the war is going on, when people are dying. So just notice where you feel that in your body. And blow it out. And put your right hand, my right hand on you, put your right hand on your throat. Put your left hand on your left knee. And put your attention there on your left knee where your hand is. And then notice the energy flowing down into your left leg and your left foot. And you might feel like you want to change your hands so that the left hand's on the throat, the right hand's on the right knee. Again, just notice that grounding. So the knees are actually the subchakra to the root chakra. Just notice the energy flowing down, feeling grounded. Bring your attention down to your feet. And blow it out. Yeah, good. So I'm going to see if there's a brain wave we need to work with. Yeah, so we're going to work with the brain wave here. Let me see here. So the brain wave that we need, it's in the gamma, beta, alpha, theta. So theta waves, and it's 5 cycles per second, 6 cycles per second. The decimals needed, the first digit is 0 through 5, 6, 7. The next digit is 0 through 5, 0, 1, 2. So it's 6.72 cycles per second that is needed. And where is this needed? It's in it's something from A. Yeah, it's actually in the cerebral hemispheres. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's in the temporal lobes. And so the temporal lobes processes sound, speech, comprehension, and it also involves, with some aspects, memory. So this is about listening with focused attention. So this is in the right temporal lobe, it's in the left. So let's check this. So checking the theta brain waves at 6.72 cycles per second in the left temporal lobe. Yeah, and that is off. So yeah, when conflict arises, communication, listening, all of that, goes offline. If we could communicate and really listen to each other, think about the difference that would make in the world, in our own interpersonal relationships, in our work relationships, and in the world at large, in relationships with countries, with nations. So then there's a feeling that we need to identify. So the positive quality that the earth element needs in order to move into a more stabilized state within us. And so the feeling that we need is something from 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's steadfast. 5, 6. Steadfast and devoted. Interesting. Yeah, so steadfast in the higher perspective, devoted to bringing peace into the world. So say, I am steadfast and devoted. I'm going to check that umbilically. Yeah, that's umbilically off. So right now, in this context, there's no energy for that. And you could, just sort of check in and notice, like, where might you be feeling maybe a little wobble within yourself? So then there's another aspect of the earth element that we need in order to bring this stability, this inner stability that we can hold within ourselves that then affects everybody around us. And what's needed here is something from 1 through 10. 11 to 15, 11, 12. This is my mother energy within, takes care of me and devotes herself selflessly to my well-being. Wow, it's exactly in line with what Janine was talking about. And there's that devotion again. From I'm steadfast and devoted, and having that mother energy within us. Take care and devote herself selflessly to your well-being. So let's check that. So repeat after me. Say, my mother energy within takes care of me. And devotes herself selflessly to my well-being. Yeah, and that's off. And I'm going to pop that one and the one before that into the chat here, so you guys can see that. Here's a chat. Okay. There you go. So that's in the chat. Beautiful. Okay, so let's see what's next.
Liz, can you post it because it didn't display for us?
Oh, sorry. I don't know why it just went to Lori. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do it again. Post it to everyone. There we go. There you go. Good. Okay. So we need a fusion at this time. Yeah, we're going to do a fusion. We haven't done a fusion in a long time. So a fusion is fusing into our system coherent patterns. So let's see what we need to fuse in. Fusing into our system the positive. What we need to fuse in is something from A, and it's A, B, C. So this is, it's an opportunity or a positive belief. Let's see here. So let me see here. This is something that we need to get from the belief repatterning. Yeah, so there's a positive belief we need to fuse in here. And it's something from the list from 1 through 20, 1 through 15, 16, 17, 18. What I do makes a difference. Oh, yeah. What I do makes a difference. And you can see how fusing in this pattern is going to support us in being steadfast and devoted to our practice, whatever that might be, of contributing to the upliftment at this time. So that's wonderful. What I do makes a difference. So that's what we're going to fuse in. Wonderful. Okay. And then let's see. So how we need to fuse this in. Where we need to fuse this in. A, B, into the chakras. Into the chakras, yes. It's root, pelvic, into the solar plexus chakra. Which makes sense because that's, the will and the power center, the place to take action from. What I do makes a difference. So fusing that into the solar plexus is going to help us to take action in a coherent, positive, optimistic way. It needs to be fused into any other place. So how are we going to do this? Something from A, B, C, D, E. We're going to do a breathing pattern. So what breathing pattern do we need here? And the breathing pattern is 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the control pause with creating a space. And I'll explain what that's about. Control pause creating a space. So in this breathing pattern, what we're going to do is, well, let me just tell you a little bit about it first. So this breathing pattern creates carbon dioxide in the system. And a lot of people don't realize that carbon dioxide is just as essential for life as oxygen is. We get so focused on getting enough oxygen, but you also need to balance the carbon dioxide ratio as well to really support life. So the CO2 breaks the chemical bond that causes hemoglobin, which carries the red blood cells all throughout our blood, to release the oxygen in our trillions of cells. CO2 regulates the flow of blood to the brain. Interesting, we had to work with the temporal lobe brainwave pattern. If there are low levels of CO2 in the blood, this can reduce the flow of blood to the brain. So our system is extremely sensitive to the CO2 levels in the air and in our body. And this breath, interestingly enough, has been used in Russian hospitals for curing people of asthma and emphysema. It's interesting. The Russian hospitals, they have some very advanced healing practices in Russia, and they got a crazy leader, you know. So it's two ends of the spectrums. So what you're going to do, just sit comfortably and breathe gently through your nose, using shallow upper chest breathing a little bit. I'm sorry. Actually, it's going to be shallow solar plexus breathing. So take it a little bit deeper to the solar plexus. So fusing in what I do makes a difference, right? And then as you breathe in, you relax and breathe out. And then on the out breath, you're going to block your nostrils. And you're just going to hold the breath out for however long is comfortable for you. You don't want to do it too long so that you're gasping. And while you're holding your breath out, just visualize yourself. Whatever I do makes a difference. Creating the space to change your attitude towards whatever's difficult for you. So just visualize yourself changing whatever challenging situation. Visualize, changing the situation in Ukraine. So Janine says she's got to go. Thank you, Janine, for joining us. We will continue to proxy you in. Okay, so breathing out, blocking your nostrils, holding your breath out. Visualize a situation, whether personally or in the world, that can change, that is changing easily. What you do is making a difference. And then breathe in. When it feels right. Good. Okay. And this is almost complete here. Good. And that's complete. Excellent. Okay. So it's best to go back and recheck all of the statements. No, we need to check any of the non-coherence. Yes. This one here. So let's check this. Say, I am destabilized by all of the violence, change, and challenges in the world today. Yeah, and that's off. We're not resonating with that. And now say, I am steadfast and devoted. Yeah, and we are resonating with that. And say, my mother energy within takes care of me. And devotes herself selflessly to my well-being. Good. And that is on. Nice. And so we have also shifted that one about losing our equilibrium at thought of losing relationship and being self-sufficient and having solitude. So that is off. We also shifted off, I feel despondent, melancholy, and morbid. That is off. We turned on the theta brainwave, 6.72 cycles per second in the left temporal lobe to enhance our listening and connecting capacity. And we fused into our solar plexus. What I do makes a difference. Wonderful. So just take a little pause. And just notice what that feels like now in your body. And I can notice there's some energy moving down my legs. And this is complete. Yes, good. So that is complete. Well, thank you everybody for joining me. So, if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, I have one spot in my calendar for taking on a one-on-one client. If you're interested, you can reach out to me and we can talk about that at et@liztobin.com. Just like to hear from you guys, what is one takeaway from the session? Or one aha moment that you've had from this session today? And you could pop it into the chat. So Anne says, fear blocks my effectiveness to make a difference. Yes, yes. Patricia says, compassion for those who hurt others. Beautiful. Sharon says, what I do makes a difference. Absolutely. Jeanette says self-love heals all. Right, right. Sherwood says, very powerful. Laurie says, I'm able to nurture myself, still looking from others. Henny says, what I do makes a difference. Nice. Shaya, thank you for joining us, Shaya. Shaya says, thank you. You're welcome. Beautiful. So thank you, everybody. And I do these sessions on the first Monday of the month. Tabitha says, we all make a difference and we are empowered when we can rise rooted and interdependent, nurturing Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Friedrich's aha was the knees are the subchakra of the root chakra. Yes, yes. So thank you, everybody. Many blessings to you. Hold the vibration high and steady, steadfast and devoted to uplifting yourself and others. And we'll see you next month. Bye-bye, everybody.